What it do? What it do? Let's eat. Y'all see the description? Is the rap game drying up as far as content, meaning lyrics, substance, all of that? You know what I mean? I did a stream a couple months ago, kind of saying how the landscape of the rap shit changing. It's changing, and I don't think it's changing for the better. I think it's getting worse because everything that the new generation rappers rap about, everybody done already seen that. The only difference is now that if you, I mean, they was rapping about bodies on records back then, but now it's like blankly like, hey, I got 10 hats, I got this many hats, you know what I mean? That's it's like more self-snitching now. But it seemed like the game was better when you actually had rappers who was living the street life through third party, meaning like, they was around, but they wasn't around, you know what I mean? So now you got dudes who was playing the background who was normally in the videos and the rapper was rapping about them and they was the ones who known for slide. Now they rap now. You know what I mean? But everything that everybody doing right now people has already seen a million times, you know what I mean? So it's like the content and the creation side is really drying up. You got a chosen few out there who ain't doing no drill rapper shit, who just rapping, you know what I mean, and telling their stories and shit they've been through. But you know what I mean? As far as content, you know what I mean, it's drying up because ain't nobody really learning shit. Only thing you really learning from rap now is that everybody like to wear masks and they got a button and, you know what I mean, they ready to, handle business as far as streetwise. So people are like basically understanding that I'm tired of subscribing and programming to the same shit. You know what I mean? I ain't learning nothing from these new niggas. You know what I mean? It ain't like when Common and a lot of groups back in the day, Public Enemy and a lot of shit, even when they came out with Self-Destruction with all the different rappers in it, you know what I mean? And even female rappers, MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, everybody was different, you know what I mean? Now it's like, it's all about what can I get from somebody, you know what I mean? Even if you a female rapper and someone say, well, dudes be rapping about using women and all of that shit and pimping all that, but okay, but it's no conscious women rappers, you know what I mean? Like at least in the 90s, you had Queen Latifah and certain people who was like trying to take a stand on, I'm not gonna be talked to or treated this way. Now it's more of a, you know what I mean? Okay, he got 20 holes, I don't mind being 21. You know what I mean? So the landscape and the programming has really changed to the point where if you was influenced 20, 30 years ago as far as musically, you definitely finna be influenced by it now to the point where everybody got these buttons on their shit and they, slide and provide, you know what I mean? So the content, I think everybody rapping about each other dead ops really destroyed the awards too, to the point where they felt like they had to reach out to the older artists, the Fat Joes, Jim Joneses, and a lot of them, because they rapping about street shit, but it's not as bad as what they is on now. Like, you know what I mean? Them people don't want nobody on they winning a music award and you talking about you lost 20 homies within a 3-year span, you know what I mean? So like I say, the content and everything just different now and it's watered down. It's like the game, like being a rapper is like having a pair of Jordans. That shit normal now, like, because it's like now you don't even got to go to a real studio. All you need is a laptop, a microphone, a closet, and you could teach yourself how to be an engineer and all that shit. So it's like it's saturated now, you know what I mean? I was wearing Jordans when Jordan was actually playing, when it like really meant something, you know what I mean? The only difference is now from back in the 90s and shit with Jordans and shit like that, early 2000s, they just got more flavors now as far as colors. Other than that, Shit saturated, you know what I mean? That's how the rap game is. You can't even flip through your world without seeing somebody rapping. You got kids rapping before they even know how to count to 50 years old. It's like, god damn, you know, like the first thing career-wise is either being an athlete or a rapper. You know what I mean? You rarely hear somebody saying they want to do what that dude Aaron the plumber doing, and people clown him, but you know, you make bank off what he doing as far as when you got your credentials in that field. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying kids out there don't want to be doctors and lawyers and shit like that, but it's like the way that TV and social media make it is like as if everybody just want to be a rapper. You know what I mean? And it's like rap ain't for everybody. It's like you really had to have talent now with TikTok and everything going on. You ain't really got to have talent. You know what I mean? You just need some catchy shit, and it draws in hella views, and somebody gonna throw you a check. And that's thing, you know, you performing at bar mitzvahs and weddings and all type of shit nowadays. That's how fast it happen. Like, think about it like this, right? Look at Glorilla's sister. You go on the net, complain about what your sister ain't doing for you, and I'm not talking bad about Brorilla or nothing like that. I'm just hypothetically saying how times has changed now. Like, but, and I ain't even gonna say she went on there to even bash, but some people just be venting in certain ways and shit. So let's just say you go on the net to vent, and then it turns around where you can make a living for yourself. You know what I mean? And you've upgraded from when you first got on the live and you was just venting and shit like that or whatever. And now look, you doing skits, you know what I mean? You interviews, you here, there, people paying you, you know what I mean? And so it's like times definitely different now as far as where you can be bashing somebody and it turns into you prospering off you bashing you was started out bashing somebody, and then now you profiting off of it, and now it's like you don't even got to bash the person no more. And sometimes people don't look at shit this way. Like when you start out bashing somebody, right, and then you start prospering and shit like that, sometimes people don't look at it like, well, maybe you need to start getting some type of money so you can see how this shit really go. And then next thing you know, somebody around you gonna say you turned into how you say Glorilla was, or whoever it is around you turned into. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes for the other people to start getting money too, and then they can finally come to their senses and say, damn, I kind of understand now. You know what I mean? Because if you ain't if you at the bottom and you ain't at least trying to come up and elevate yourself, then you is gonna think with hatred and feel entitlement and feel like somebody should look out for you and do this for you. But when you get the money, all of a sudden a person becomes real smart. Leon Gonzalez said, what it do, family? All of a sudden, when people get their own money, they become accountants with their money. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they know how to spend your money up, but when they get their money, all of a sudden they smart now. You know what I mean? Before you was talking about cashing out on the Rolls Royce, now you all of a sudden you got your money. You know, yeah, I was gonna do that, but I think I'm gonna just stick making payments. I'm gonna just lease it. You know what I mean? Not saying that leasing is bad, but I'm just saying like people will use you up dry, and then when they get their money, all of a sudden they just smart and they just know what the fuck to do. You're an accountant all of a sudden, but you know what I mean? But you were just being a peasant ass motherfucker a little bit ago. You know what I mean? Begging and all that shit. So it's like the content as far as creating music is getting old now. Everybody tired of nigga talking about popping a perk 30. You know what I mean? Pulling up a foe. You know what I mean? That shit dry out at some point. What's your character? But you know, what's your character? Once you develop a certain character, people on the internet fail to realize that shit it's like a resume. That shit follow you forever. You claim you want all this money, but the shit you doing on the net, you making people not want to fuck with you, whether it's Hanes Underwood, Nike, uh, you know what I mean? Like, you know, just certain things and opportunities that you could really be blocking yourself from, but you got a million videos of you drugged out, laying in the streets, you in the club, passed out, or you just doing silly ass shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of them people that's kind of in the forefront of that entertainment shit, they all take advantage of that shit. You know what I mean? Meaning like if your ass ever made 100,000 or 50, matter of fact, 50,000 or better legally, and then your ass doing a GoFundMe, we shouldn't feel bad for you, because once you make legit money and you in that certain realm, you know what I mean? It's on you to take it from where you started and make something happen out of it. You know what I mean? Don't try to come back when you down at the bottom and act like you remember where you from and all that shit when you were just acting bougie. You know, so the content as far as rap shit, it ain't no substance in it. A person ain't learning nothing. You know what I mean? Nah, I mean, it depends. But nah, I don't watch the Super Bowl like that. So, like I say, everybody rapping about get money. That's just like the one period of time when everybody was flexing, holding the stacks to their ear and all of that shit or whatever. Like, certain shit died at some point. Like, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, once King Von died, my interest towards drill kind of, faded away. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I know niggas done came behind him and all of that, and I see what's going on, but you know what I mean? Do I make it my business like to keep tabs on it? Nah, I don't, for real. You know what I mean? So it's like, with so many rappers dying every day and weekly and then getting indicted and all that shit, it's like, it's damn near, you know what I mean? Like, and then a lot of songs that you really want to hear don't get played on the radio. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the content creation part of it, you know what I mean? Ain't nobody starting to care about it no more. Cause like I say, cause you got a million videos of a bunch of underground rappers doing the same shit. Rap about buttons, ops, sliding, masks, and getting money and pounds of trees or some shit. You know what I mean? And if you think about it though, kids listen to music and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes we need to be cautious of what we like and what we promote too. You know what I mean? You need to be aware of what we listening to, because you know what I'm saying, we be help spread that shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of it be bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, we as people got to do better too. You know what I mean? But I was just really noticing that they be complaining about sales and who doing this, who doing what, and it's like, yeah, man, it's the same shit. Whether it's Moneybagg Yo, whether it's this person, that person, when you already know what to expect from certain people, it's like ain't nothing really brand new no more. You damn near gotta fly in a Goodyear blimp or some shit, man, and perform a concert in order to, you know what I mean, to really, if you got hits and you got hit records, you know what I mean, you pretty much always straight, because you can perform your hit records, you know what I mean? But as far as content and creating and the excitement of somebody new coming out, man, that shit is over with, because like I say, everybody rapping about the same shit, whether you from Philly, Chicago, you know what I mean, Detroit, rap about what they known for, you know what I mean? And that's the lane right there that, people need to be falling in right there, you know what I mean? Get on some Vezo, 42 Doug, all them boys over there, GT, Payroll, Keys, all them boys, or, you know what I mean? Who else? My niggas, School, like, just all that, like, you know what I mean? Everybody, early 2000s, bro, it was all Jeezy and all them niggas and a lot of people who was dropping, bro. Everybody was all about trapping, getting money and shit like that. You know what I mean? Now, niggas rather be broke with an ARP. You know what I mean? So it's like shit just different now. You know what I mean? And like I say, everything been done before a million times already. Niggas done already seen rap niggas in the video with every gun you could think of, with the hood behind them. So nothing ain't new no more. You know what I mean? It's a repeated cycle. You know what I mean? Repeated cycle for real. Me personally, I tap in with both. You know what I mean? You always want to know what's going on and shit or whatever. You got a chosen few out there. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Am I looking to get something out of it? No. But if you musically inclined, you know what I mean, and you love music, you know what I mean, you're gonna give all type of different music a try, whether it's reggaeton, Afro beats, all that shit. You know what I mean? Got to be well rounded when it comes to music, man. You know what I mean? Can't have a closed lyrics in just one lane. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was watching a few podcasts and people talking about how in the music industry shit just drying up. You know what I mean? And I totally agree, man. You know what I mean? But I say it's the content, bro. Like, I mean, shit, damn, then when niggas drop shit, you get indicted because you really putting your real life and what you doing out there. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta rap that shit as if from what Coach K told Jeezy, like third party type shit. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really just be like, I was at Dairy Queen and blah 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 blah. Like, damn, okay, because the street already saying you was, so it's like you just stamping it. You know what I mean? Along with the streets. You know what I mean? That's all they need right there. You feel me? And I know some people who be having their own channels and shit like that, like me, networks, you got your own thing going. Some dudes just be talking from a sideline point of view. If I'm ever talking on here, I'm talking from experience firsthand. Like, you know what I mean? You know, any age bracket could lay belt. You feel me? It ain't no certain age where the belt land stop. You know what I mean? It don't matter whether how old you is. You know what I mean? Belt land don't come with no age stopping. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I never let the feel. So if I say some shit, it's just really talking on experience for real. But the content of the game is drying up. The awards don't hit the same. Like I said, they bringing old rappers from back in the day back because everywhere now is just dissing, smoking on dead ops, and BET and all them don't want their shit on there, man. They got corporations and all type of people who put money in there. Shit, it's a business. You know what I mean? They already done profit enough off the negativity, the murder side of it. So these people who just getting their foot wet now don't understand that like, bro, y'all coming in, these people done already made billions of dollars off this shit by now because they was actually corporates and vice presidents and all of this shit when you actually had to sell CDs and shit like that. Don't get me wrong, they figured out a way to uh play niggas on the streams and shit like that or whatever. Because I heard Snoop say some shit. He a billion streams. They sent that nigga a check for like 45,000 or 50,000. He's like, how the fuck that work if I got a plaque that says I got a billion streams? You know what I mean? So, and then as a youngin, I used to see, firsthand how the game was behind the scenes. You know what I mean? I done seen rappers do videos and a whole jewel on set. You know what I mean? Niggas borrowing that shit when that shit over with, giving it back. You know what I mean? But they just promoting the brand of the jewelers to make other rappers fuck with them and shit like that. So when you more in the streets for real, see the street, the main street nigga who was like that nigga in the streets, he was known, but he was quiet. Now he known, but he rap. And he just verifying everything that he rapped about that the streets already know. So when he rapping about the shit, the streets can say, yeah, that's true. Mr. Green Jeans 75, damn. So when the streets hear him rapping about it, they like, oh yeah, he ain't lying. You know what I mean? He did lay belt on 47th and 8th and such and such. You know what I mean? The nigga who was really laying belt was in the background. Now he rapping now. And he gained attraction real fast because you got people in the comments verifying that he really a belt layer. You know what I mean? If once people see you live what you rap about, it's always been that way in the music industry. You know what I mean? Your views and sales and people want to hear you become interested. Now you're doing interviews and all that shit because people want to know what turned you into the person you is or where you laying belt out here. You know what I mean? That's why in the beginning the baby had so many problems because he laid belt at Walmart. It is old footage and everybody see that. But also the people know that though, despite how much you may think some of his rap is comical because the nigga could flow, he really did lay belt before. So it's like that make people still fuck with him because in their mind it's like he did lay belt before. And then he did lay belt in Atlanta when some dudes try to run up in the spot. He's always stood. The nigga Cam Coldheart approached him in the Gucci store. Next thing you know, he footage 2 seconds later, he stretched out on the ground. Don't know how the fuck he got there. You know what I mean? The dudes pull up on the baby in Atlanta at the video shoot, tell him he can't shoot. He stood on business. So despite what kind of music he make, when you really know a dude MO, you gonna rock with him more over his music for real. Even if when he start off, he might not be a good rapper or all like that, but just because we know he really living what he talking about, we gonna fuck with it. You know what I mean? Because you know why? Because I'm like that. Like if I know you live what you rap, even if I know you're not the best rapper, I'm gonna fuck with your shit because I know you live in what you rap. You know what I mean? You'll get better as time go on. You know what I mean? You'll get better and better as the more and more you do a song. You know what I mean? And you see, and you go in the studio. See, I come from an era where if you at the studio, you must be straight already as far as, or you must already got bread because the studio requires you to be in the studio. So it's like a lot of dudes around me didn't want, if you know they getting money, they ain't got time to go to the studio. You know what I mean? We felt like that was some broke nigga shit. You know what I mean? Most dudes 20 years ago who was in the studio was broke. It was, you know what I mean? It wasn't really rapping about they real life for real. You was capping, you know what I mean? But dudes who was really getting money and really in the trenches and really putting belt and doing all these things, you had people encouraging them to rap. They'll tell them like, man, you should rap. You know what I mean? Because basically, you know, you like me. You know what I mean? And we see a lot of situations where dudes was told that and they did it and they prospered, but they ain't do the right thing with the funds. See, when you get money, or when you come cross money, money gonna show you who you really is. That's why I told y'all when you already was getting money in the streets and you already was that nigga. So if you do come across a situation where you get a big check, you kind of know how to conduct yourself a little bit more versus somebody who was just surviving, like they was handling their business, but they wasn't getting like no real money type shit. So when they get the money, you really gonna see the character of the individual and who they really is. You know what I mean? You gonna see a beginning, a middle, then an end. You know what I mean? Like I say, if you somebody who done experienced having bread, being hood rich already, you kind of know more to how to conduct yourself. But you got dudes who wasn't getting no money and they had people around him who invest in them and all that shit. Now that they got the money, you see them doing unusual shit and catching cases and all type of goofy shit. Not just rappers, actors too, because you know why? They wasn't that nigga before they blew up. Not saying they ain't have a girlfriend, but they weren't used to women flocking over them, being known in the streets. You go in the store, the dude owe you. I mean, the dudes, the people who work at the store, everybody just know you. You know what I mean? Sometimes money can be the worst thing that ever happened to certain individuals because certain people can't handle it. You know what I mean? And then you see them on Club Shay Shay doing interviews talking about what amount of money that they came across really wasn't enough all like that because of taxes in certain situations and shit like that. But a lot of people just not good at budgeting for real. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, man, the budget and the salary you make a year is just meant for you to make every year because if you come across some major paper, maybe, you know what I mean, our Heavenly Father above feel, you know, you may not do the right thing with it. I don't know. Maybe you might not feel you might not do the right thing with it. You know what I mean? But sometimes we just gotta accept it for what it is. You know what I mean? Especially if you keep trying at something that's negative and it's failing and failing and failing. You gotta take some accountability, man. You know what I mean? And I don't know, find another lane. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes in the rap game do podcasts now, and then they feel they the shit because they already was in the rap game. You rubbing shoulders and with people who you was in the game with. So you already got somewhat of an advantage on people who just in the trenches and who really coming up grinding with this shit. You know what I mean? You was already somewhat in the limelight, so it ain't nothing for you to reach out to such and such and get them on your podcast and shit like that. You know what I mean? A lot of motherfuckers revert to what easy. Fuck what they telling us. Talking about they revert to what works for them. You know what I mean? And then they gain sponsorships and they do all this different shit and you know what I mean? Next thing you know, you be like the damn Breakfast Club where they on Netflix now. Ain't nobody finna watch that shit. They already was watered down. I've been quit watching that shit. I think Last time I might even paid attention to him when Birdman was on there, but who watches the Breakfast Club? You know what I mean? Like, don't nobody watch that shit no more. I don't even look forward to whoever go on there. I don't even care. You know why? Because YouTube full of so much other different options and shit like that. And then who cares to get the radio version of an interview from somebody when, you know what I mean, you can go on such and such platform and, you know what I mean, and get the raw uncut version of it. You know what I mean? So me personally, I feel like the content and like I say, man, you know, labels or whatever, they'll throw you that bag, and then some people feel they wrong for putting a life insurance policy on your ass. But shit, they know what time we living in. Think about it. If you a company, you invest in a certain amount of money, you got to protect your investment. You know what I mean? It may sound cruel, but I don't want to invest 1.5 and nothing and not have some form of security. You know what I mean? Like that's a big L to take. You know what I mean? It don't matter what the paper and Forbes said I made 2 years ago. You know what I mean? You don't want to take no L for that shit. So, you know, like I say, it's the content, and then the everybody rapping about the same shit, got the same chain, same everything. Like I don't even wear my jewelry like that because so much fake shit going on to the point where you'll have a troll or a clown come on your shit and telling you your shit fake, and he ain't got a fucking thing but the phone in his hand and his work uniform and the shoes he got. You know what I mean? Like nigga ain't got no real responsibilities. Be trying to come on niggas' lives and feel they could talk shit to a boss and tell a boss what to do and all of this shit, and their opinion like it really matters when you ain't got nothing going for yourself. You trying to find yourself too. You know what I mean? So yeah, a dumbass can say some shit that makes sense. You know what I mean? But it's like it's too much rap shit going on. It's plentiful now. Everybody doing it. You know what I mean? From kids who don't even know how to count to fucking 50 years old. I mean 50. And it's just saturated. Like I said, it's like George now. So you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, it's like rap now. It's like you go somewhere and somebody they say they rap, you like, oh, you rap, oh, okay, like, but you had like you saying something new or something. You rap, I damn near want to get away from you because it's like I ain't really trying to really hear. If I know you already was doing music, that's cool. But like any new type shit or whatever, like you know what I mean, like I ain't really trying to hear that shit for real. You know what I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, like I don't want to even disappoint you, dog, because I know you saying some shit that already been around. Like, I mean, it's very rare somebody can say some shit nowadays that you be like, damn, okay, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, the rap game, content wise, the shit is in a plunder, like it's not in a good direction right now. You know what I mean? And content is really killing the shit, you know what I mean? And I ain't gonna say I hope this shit get better. I ain't gonna say I hope shit get worse, but it's going the way it's going and it's saturated. So there you have it from Try Gang TV. Share, like this video, comment, subscribe to my shit. You know what I mean? And go to my YouTube post, check for updates. You know what I mean? Check out my merch. You know what I mean? And Tribe Gang TV. We out.